Give them a shot to do what?
Welcome, sports fans, to the hottest sports podcast in the game, JT and the Don, with your hosts, Jimmy Thompson and Donato Bucci. They're covering the most current issues in sports from the 305 to the 412 and all the way to the West Coast. You can follow them on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at JT and the Don, or email them at jtandthedon@gmail.com. Now take it away, guys.
Welcome to the next episode of JT and the Don, presented by Give Us a Shot Network. I am the Don, Donato Bucci, and remember to subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and wherever you find all of your other favorite podcasts. And remember to leave us a 5-star review. We have a lot on the agenda this evening: NBA, football, even some hockey, and we have a special guest. But first, let me welcome in everyone's favorite JT, Jimmy Thompson. How you feeling today?
Yeah, that's all you got nothing else to say, man.
What do you want me to say?
I hear you consistently crying about, oh, you're not a real sports fan of that team unless you decked out head to toe in their gear 24/7. If you're not wearing the hat, the shoes, the pants, like, you're not a real fan. I mean, are you not entertained? Like, I had to go literally put on anything Miami did at home just so you would shut up. You're not going to even say anything about it?
It looks like you went
just bring coaching. I'm done with you. Just bring coaching.
Looks like
you a hypocrite. You a hypocrite, and you just love to hear yourself talk. Bring it, coach. I'm done with you. I'm not talking to you.
It's going to be like that today. I can't even talk.
No, you can't. You can't, because you're a hyprophyte. Bring it, coach, please. I don't even want to deal with you tonight, please.
Into the 90s store and bought it, whatever heat stuff you could find.
See, this is why I don't deal with you, man.
There was Ronnie,
and then
and Coach and I had to guilt you. Coach and I had to guilt you in wearing some gear. So since you mentioned it, let's welcome in our special guest, JT. This is the first time on JT and the Dawn that we've had the same guest in consecutive shows. So that's pretty cool.
He
that's
set
pretty
all
amazing.
Kind of records, man.
I felt like the first time I didn't do him justice with the introduction. We're big on that. So let me welcome in. He is none other than former captain of the Louisville Cardinals basketball team, former George Washington assistant coach, who, by the way, was part of the staff that won the 2016 NIT title. And he is now current head basketball coach of the Landon Bears. Coach Hodge Turner. Coach, welcome to the show. Thank you again for coming on back-to-back weeks. How are you, man?
Thank you, guys. I'm doing great. Just happy to be here. Kids are out of school now, so no complaints.
Oh, we got you the whole show then. We got you the whole show.
Hey, we were backstage and Coach said everything is fair game tonight, so that made me kind of nervous, man.
Hey, but since you were on that topic, I feel like you're holding JT to a double standard, man. I got it. Like the pre-show argument. Like, what do you want? Like, that jersey has a Reebok symbol on it. That means he's had that for a minute, which is,
exactly. Talk some sense into your man
Coach,
over here.
Don't be fooled. Coach, don't be fooled. Right? That he was probably gifted that when he was smaller. Notice he doesn't have any current gear except hats because he likes to wear hats. I mean, come on. Don't give him a break. I'm
still sticking with JT on this one, man. He's like, he can't win for losing, man. Like, if he didn't wear anything today, you would have said, why don't you have anything on? And he put something on, and then, especially after Game 6, man, that not to jump into your itinerary, but that Game 6 was that game was amazing. And obviously Game 7 was great for a Miami Heat fan, but
it was.
We got reasonable people with just common sense come on the show. See, thank you. I've been trying to tell people about you, Don.
Man, Coach just feels bad for you, JT. So, Coach, before we go back and look at the Eastern Conference Finals, in particular the Celtics, let's look ahead. All right. So we know it's going to be Denver, Miami, and we'll remind the fans of our predictions at the end here. But the main question that we want to ask you, and this is why we bring you on, this is why you make the big bucks. Which team has the coaching edge going into the finals at this time?
I got to go with experience, just the same way I was all up in arms about Jimmy Butler in the top 10, like just because he hasn't been there enough. Mike Malone is fantastic. I mean, I think he has the best player in the playoffs right now, in my opinion, maybe the best player in the NBA. He's got a hell of a resume, but there's nothing that can replace the experience. And I'm not saying that Miami's going to win because of this, but I do think they have the coaching edge because they've been there. And it's not just like one of those teams where they've been to the finals a bunch of times with a bunch of different coaches. Like, it's been him, for everything except Riley, with that 1 year. So he's been in it. He's been in it, man. Like, so I think just not necessarily X and O or what strategies, but just like that experience is irreplaceable. So I think that's why Miami has a coaching edge.
Gotcha. And we talked about the X factors last time, and I go off script a little bit here. But when
he's going off script, that means he didn't agree with your answer. But go ahead.
No, I agree. Listen,
You
Coach
agree?
Spo, going into this, Coach Spo is going to have the edge. I totally agree. And so I know we're going off script, but the other question I have for you is, we talked about the X factors, but with you being a coach, what is the one kind of storyline, or what's the one thing of interest you're going to be looking at closely as the series starts, in terms of whether it's X's and O's, substitution patterns, who's matching up against who? Like, what's that one kind of that area that you're going to be looking at closely?
I'm torn between two answers, but I'll go with turnovers, man. Miami's prolific at taking the ball from you, and Denver's prolific at not giving it to you. Something's
got to give, right?
Give. Like, they're not like my team. We were good at both, but
hey, there you go.
I think Miami Heat. I think I have that right. I think they get the most. They get a ton of points off of turnovers, and then you got Denver who doesn't turn the ball over, and then that trickles into spacing and transition points and all that stuff. A lot of times it stems from turnovers and whether or not you're taking care of the ball. So I think from an X and O standpoint, I think that's probably the biggest factor. The other thing I was going to say was just Bam and Jokic. Yeah.
So remind the fans and listeners, what was your prediction, and give us how many games?
That means I need to remember what my prediction was.
Hey,
I know it was the Nuggets for sure. I know both of you guys picked Denver. So
I think I said Denver in 6. I think I said Denver in 6.
I think you did. You're right.
Yep. And I still feel that way.
That's
I
right.
still feel that way. I thought Miami was going to make history the other night. I was worried.
Too much pride on that sideline.
JT was worried. You should have seen the text messages after Game 6.
After all my emotion was poured into Game 6, I was like, I'm not gonna let these boys ruin another day. So they gonna come out here, either they're gonna take care of business or they're gonna embarrass themselves. And I don't see Coach Spo and Jimmy Butler, embarrassing themselves, back to back like that. So I had a feeling we'd get it done.
No, I did too, but I was legitimately nervous after that. I mean, it's not like the Heat did anything wrong, but you want to talk about gut wrenching, man. Like, it's amazing. I think there was one NCAA game that was kind of like that. Like, somebody made an amazing play, and then it was followed up by like an even more amazing play, and then boom, it was like elation and just despair, just within 3 seconds. It's crazy.
Yeah. So Coach has Denver in 6. JT, remind the fans real quick. What do you got?
6.
Heat in 6, and I got Denver in 5. Gentlemen sweet. Gentlemen sweet. Gentlemen sweet.
Can we?
I still believe it. I believe it.
I know I'm not the moderator here, but can you expand on how you got to Denver in 5?
Yeah, I think
he's wrong. He don't know what he's talking about. That's the answer. He don't know what he's talking about, and he a hater. He don't like the Heat.
Hey, Coach, I hate doing this to you, but JT, who'd you pick in that Lakers-Denver series? Yeah, you took the Lakers. I took Denver. It was pretty clear who was right there. So,
okay.
How I get there, Coach?
Shot. Okay, congratulations.
If JT would let me.
You also picked the Celtics, so I don't know why you're gloating.
And it went in 7. What did I say? It's going to go 7. And I said, hey, the Celtics, they're going to win.
You like a fool.
If Tatum had not been hurt,
a fool for the first 3 games.
Tatum had not been injured, we'll get there. But if Tatum not had been injured, you never know.
You know what?
Coach,
Since you want to talk in hypotheticals,
Coach,
let's do that. Let's do that
because
you always holding stuff up. So let's talk about.
But
let's talk about. No, I don't want to hear.
You're not going to let the guest ask the question.
He don't want to hear you talk either. You picked Denver.
He asked the question. Okay. He asked the question. Coach, real quick. I just think it's Denver's time, right? Jokic not having won the MVP, no pressure there. Jamal Murray is over a year removed. Well, like 2 seasons removed now, technically, from the injury. And I just think they're hitting on all cylinders. And the other part, Miami, they've had a tough road, man. Milwaukee, 6 with New York, and then this 7, which should have been done in 4. I think it catches up to them just like it did in the bubble.
Hey, we made for that. So that's your answer? We done?
That's my answer.
Can we talk about the team that you made all these excuses for, the Crumbling Celtics? Can we talk about that?
Sure.
All right, cool. Damn, he never going to be quiet. So the Celtics have the whole offseason to think about what went wrong this season, besides, going against Jimmy Butler, the best dude in the playoffs. But during the opening minute of Game 7, Tatum went down, bad ankle sprain. While he continued to play, he was clearly a shell of himself and bothered by the not 100%. Now, if Tatum was healthy, do you think it would have changed the outcome of Game 7? Now, I want to get the wrong answer out of the way first. Don.
You don't even know how I'm going to answer.
Please, because I know you're going to make excuses for your boy. You picked him to win the MVP before the season. Go ahead.
Definitely would have changed the outcome.
Tell us how he would have been Michael Jordan in Game 7. Tell us. Go ahead, please.
It definitely would have changed the outcome. At the very least, and I don't think this can be argued, at the very least, it would not have been a 19-point victory or a blowout, early in the second half. I mean, first, let's give him credit. What a gutsy performance, because I don't think we realize how serious of an injury that was. If that was a regular season game, he comes out. He's out the next 2 to 3 weeks minimum, yet he goes through it. I think he ends up with 14-some points. And listen, I think with him in there, it goes down to the wire if he's healthy. Derek White contributing with 18 points. The Celtics might steal that. And your guy, he doesn't quite show up, JT. Jaylen Brown doesn't quite show up. But, yeah, again, he's better than Tatum, according to you. But at the end of the day, though, I will say the actual outcome would not have changed. I think the Heat still win because Caleb Martin, there was no answer for him.
All that huffing and puffing just to say we were still going to win. See why I make him go first, Coach? He's just talking a whole bunch of nothing. What you got to say about this?
First of all, as we know, what I love about sports debates is there's rarely a factual answer. But I think that had a huge. I mean, he's one of the best 2 or 3 players on the floor. I think, like, I hear your point. I'm not ready to say they would have won the game, but I think it would have been just for me. I want to see a good game, especially like if it's not the Lakers. I just want to see a really good game, and that we didn't get that. It was a great series overall, but I mean, I don't know. Like, we can talk about Derek White, but he had a great game. Does he do that if Tatum's not hurt? I don't know. Like, it just he did what he was supposed to do when his teammate got injured. But I don't know. Like, I don't know if it's just that simple. It's not. I don't know if the math is that simple. Like, you get extra 15 points from Tatum, and they and get the same production from everybody else, because a lot of people stepped up. They just didn't have enough without him. So I think it would have made it a closer game. Maybe they would have won.
Can't disagree with you guys more. Just because we've seen this before with this team, not only this season, but in this series. First of all, they were playing at home. We own them at home in the playoffs, regardless of who's out there playing. But y'all missing the big overall picture of why it wouldn't have mattered if you played or not. As a team, again, they were terrible from three. And you know the record, basically, when they can't shoot three-pointers, they basically don't win any games. And I don't care if Jason Tatum is out there, doing his thing. If they can't match us in three-point shooting, they weren't going to win. It wasn't going to be a close game. And the offense just looked stale, as it normally does. There was no rhythm. I didn't know what they were doing out there. Now, does him being hurt, lessen their chances? Of course. Like, we know he's a top 10 player at worst in the league. But we seen him struggle in this series. Not scoring, not taking field goals in the fourth quarter. Did we just assume he was going to come out here and have a 50-point Jordan Game 7? Like, I didn't think it was going to happen just simply because I don't think they could hit the three-pointers. We were just hotter than them, and I think that's what it came down to. So I like Tatum, but I feel like y'all give him a little too much credit.
I'd like to add one thing, and I mentioned this to Coach, I think yesterday when we were talking about it, that I think what happened, it happening so early in the game that it kind of maybe – worried, got in everyone's head in terms of the team. When your guy, when your
like
warrior,
a here we go moment, oh damn, it's the last thing we need.
Well, when your leader, when your warrior goes down like that, it's
you making him sound
my God.
You're making him sound like he Jordan. Oh, your warrior, the leader, the alpha goes down. Who's gonna step up?
That definitely relax. An emotional part. Like, you see your guy go down,
was hurt.
You're like, holy smokes.
You know what? I didn't want to have to do this to you, but I had a feeling you would go down this road. Let's stop it. What? The man played the whole game, had 15 points, 11 boards. I know he was hurt. But are we forgetting that Jimmy Butler been playing with a bad ankle since the Knicks series, where he went down and everybody thought he died? Not to mention LeBron at age 40 out here with a torn foot is putting up a 40-point triple-double. And we really got to sit here and be like, you know what, Jason Tatum, if his ankle was just a little bit healthier, they would have won the game. Who cares? They didn't get it done. Like, Jason Tatum wasn't going to help them win that game. Like the faster we realize that, the better it'll be for everyone.
Remember that when Denver beats Miami, because you're going to have all sort of excuses. The refs were against us. It was the altitude. Jimmy Butler's hurt.
And you know what you're not going to do is lie on this show, because don't make me leak these text messages, because you even admitted Game 6 was one of the worst officiated games of all time.
I didn't say that.
Yes, you did.
Look,
yes,
can we go to the next question? Coach got things to do, man.
I know you just won't shut up.
Things to do.
All right. So now their season's over. Big question on everybody's mind is, will they keep both Tatum and Brown?
Yes.
Go ahead, Coach.
They should. I think they should keep both of those dudes. I think those dudes, we can do all this in terms of does he want to be there? Does he not want to be there? And reading body language and stuff. Those two dudes can go. Like, those two dudes are max leveled guys. Jason Tatum's out of this world. Jaylen Brown is really, really, really good. He's he's not too far off. I get it. Like, we're impatient as a sports society, but man, I think you need to maybe tweak a few things. But if I'm Joe Mazzulla or the front office, we had. Shoot, man, we had a couple bad breaks, but it wasn't your typical loss to an 8 seed. I don't think they should feel bad about that, because the Heat are just different, and they got in a run. I think it's tempting to go get this or that guy, but when is the last time it worked out? Like, where you blow things up or try to make a super team? Didn't work in Brooklyn. Didn't work in it wasn't long term, and even in Golden State or Miami. It was a flash in the pan in the big scheme of things. It went horribly in LA, and they got things right. Now that was an old super team, but still, I just think, and I know people say this all the time on both sides of the coin, Get him out of here, blow it up. And a lot of people are like saying things like I'm saying, like patience. Like there's value in, not coming somewhere for the first time, watering your grass, and not worrying about, the grass is always green on the other side. Like there's some challenges that come with these new teams. You get a perfect player, but what if it is not right for his family, or what if there's all these other factors that impact anybody when they change jobs and move to a different city. But you got a proven commodity. Team has been to Game 7 in the finals 2 years in a row, won one, lost one. The East Coast Finals. Let's not act like they didn't make the playoffs.
I normally agree with you, Coach, but this is why I'm going to disagree here. With all due respect, though, that
forget respect.
There's 613.
He said no respect. Give us your real answer now.
There's $613 million, in my opinion, of why you can't keep both. Because this summer, because Jaylen Brown was named to the All-NBA second team, he's eligible for the Supermax of a 5-year extension worth $295 million. Tatum, same situation, but next June, he's eligible for a 5-year Supermax worth $318 million. So when you look, those two Supermaxes, they're going to take up 70% of the cap. And there's this whole thing with the CBA, and I know we get into the weeds here, but I think it is important why I think one of them has to be moved. And from my opinion, last week it's Jaylen Brown, that the Celtics currently are $24 million over the luxury tax line. With the new looming CBA, there's like 2 layers to it. There's a first layer over the tax line. There's a second layer. When you're over the second layer by 17 million, now you're seeing heavy penalties. Like you can't sign the mid-level exception guy. You can't trade and take on more salary than you're giving away. So think about it. If that happens, when you go to try to make and get that third big 3-piece, you can't trade away less salary than what you're taking on. So in essence, you're not getting a big 3-piece. And there's other restrictions by going over that $17 million tax line. So to me, best interest to trade one of them. You haven't won in 6 years. And I'm not saying blow it up. You're right. Don't blow it up. You've got the core pieces. The thing is, though, I just don't see them keeping both.
Leave it. Ruin our day with all this legal stuff, man. Yeah, why you gotta be so actual? I mean,
I'm glad you mentioned that, because that rarely factors into my opinion, because I don't study and know the cap and all that stuff enough. But one thing I think, and that's true, I don't know enough about it, but like I'm glad you brought that up, and you make me think about a few things. But Boston, who did these picks? Danny Ainge before he left.
I think he got most of them, yeah.
Yeah, and he's widely regarded as a really shrewd and strategic and sharp, negotiator, GM, deal maker. They have to have a contingency plan. Like the dudes have played as well as they thought they would. Like I hear what you're saying about 3.8 or 318 and 2 whatever the crazy $1 million that you sent out. Like I don't know. Because again, I'm not in the front office, and I don't study the cap and all that stuff. But like, I just think that they've always I think they have some picks. I think they have some things they can move around. I think that they had to have known. Any front office has to know these hypotheticals. Like, so we want these guys to play well, make first, second team all league. They know what happens when the guys reach the goals. They've done their research. So I'm not saying you're wrong. You might be absolutely right, Bucci, but I'm just thinking like they factored that in, years ago when they made these deals, I think. So I don't know how many picks they have. I don't think they need a third. Like, that's the thing. I think that one of them moving is blowing up the team.
Okay.
I think that the changes, the roster moves that need to be made, I'm not saying that it has to be. I don't think that it has to be a big three type of dude.
Let me ask you this. Sorry, JT, I know you still have to go. Let me ask you this, Coach. If I was to say the Celtics move Jaylen Brown and they get two pieces like a Sengun who's with the Rockets, so now you've got a big, and you can get a hold on
going into the basement and bringing a sleeper guy.
And you can get a Jalen Green in return along with 1 or 2 first-round picks, because Houston may want to bring in Jaylen Brown because they're looking at James Harden too. They're in that rebuild, but they actually may want to win now all of a sudden. So if you can move him to Houston, you get two pieces like Jalen Green, who's a ball handler, shot creator, slasher guy, Sengun, a big underneath, and then a 1 or 2 first-round picks. Like, you wouldn't move Jaylen Brown with those pieces in return? Because I don't think that's blowing it up.
That is blowing it up.
The reason I wouldn't do that is because Robert Williams he's an animal. He's really, really good. I don't think they have a ton of, I know Al Horford ain't going. Al Horford's been in the NBA since I was in middle school, but doesn't like so. But he's a great, like, locker room, like, leadership, see him running time. So I hear what you're saying about Sengun. He's an exciting young player. But if they didn't have Robert Williams, I may be more open to that. But the other thing is Jalen Green, freakish. He's a baby though. He's a baby.
Understood.
Like if you tell me that saying Jalen Green's been in the league for 2 or 3 more years and he's been to the West Coast Finals or something, or like I think it's he's on his way. He may end up being one of the best players that ever played a game, but I think he's still a baby, and I don't know. I don't know. That's why I'm just. You gotta. Maybe I'm just being too risk averse, but you got something that you know what you have in Jaylen Brown and Tatum.
It's been working.
That's why.
It's been working.
Yeah. JT.
Look, I hate even having to answer this question because I get why he wanted to go first. He wanted to lay out all the legal stuff, all the tech terms, throwing out, CBA information, what's been ratified, what's not. I get it. But the problem is, you're right in theory, but let's be real. They don't have any other choice, because if you were going to move one of those guys, the move to make would have been trade one of those guys for KD. That would have been the move to make, where I'm blowing this up, but I'm not blowing up us winning now. Because if you replace one of those guys with KD, everyone still feels the same. You really are in the same position, maybe even a bit better. So they didn't do that. So now you're stuck with these guys. You got to keep them because of everything you guys said. Like, they're too young. They're 2 really great players, and you're not going to get fair value in return to trade for one of them and still be able to win now. Like, you got to keep them. Like, and I don't think he's a worse player, but I think Jaylen Brown's value around the league might have gone down a little bit the past maybe like 2 games, especially in this game 7 where the Warrior, Jason Tatum, was hurt. He was injured. They needed, Jaylen Brown to put up 50. He didn't do it. And Jimmy Butler kind of made him look bad every time he would go left, and all the turnovers and stuff like that. Now, I don't know if that's a byproduct of Jaylen Brown isn't that guy, or this is what happens when you don't have an offense and everybody doesn't get in rhythm that best suits them. But I think not making the move for KD and Jaylen Brown not separating himself the past 2 games is why they're going to be stuck keeping them together. So they're going to have to sign both these guys to max contracts and keep them. So real quick, I'm going to go around the corner, though, before we move on to the next one. Let's say they do. They sign these guys both to max deals. Can they win with both of them on those deals? Yes or no? Don, I'm going to go to you first.
No, they can't. I mentioned it, and there's a couple of reasons. I told you the 70% cap space. Now, on top of that, they already have like $22 million guaranteed locked up with other guys. So they're going to lose guys like Derek White, Brogdon, Grant Williams. Derek White and Malcolm Brogdon, they would start on any other team. Like, those are guys that are coming off the bench, essentially. They'd start on any other team. So, Coach, it goes back to, okay, if you move one of those guys, it's a blow up. Well, if one of those guys leaves, or both, Derek White or Brogdon, you're not bringing in anyone in free agency that's better than those guys. One, there's probably no one better in free agency that's willing to take, a lesser role to come there. But two,
we'll call it what it is.
But two, they wouldn't have the cap
pool
space.
Is not going to be as good as those guys. That's basically what it is.
Exactly. Like two, they won't have the cap space because, like I said, if they go over that second tier of the tax line, they lose a lot of different options, including, from my understanding, the mid-level exception. So you haven't won in 6 years. They essentially play the same position. When you needed Jaylen Brown, this is not a knock against him, but when you needed him to step up to be the alpha,
no. You're going to turn this into a Jaylen Brown bash fest?
At the end of the day.
Yes or no, you said they can't win it. I get it.
They can't win. Well, we got to have an explanation.
I get it. Jaylen Brown sucks. It's all his fault.
Short answer test. This is a short answer test.
Jesus Christ, man. Coach Hobbs, can they win with both of them on max deals or not?
I think they can win with them both having max deals, and that's why. This is why. I think that you're right in terms of they probably cannot afford some of those role players to stay at the same salary, but I think that Tatum and Brown and Robert Williams, I don't know where he falls in the deal and if he's sticking around, but if that core right there can stay there with whatever their deals are without, they may lose Derek White and Malcolm Brogdon. But I think that core is good enough and they've had enough recent success where you can maybe get somebody to fill the roles that Brogdon and Derek White and maybe some other role players that I'm not remember. Maybe you can get some guys who ain't expensive yet.
You're going to get PJ Tucker. That's what you're going to get.
but what I'm saying, like those guys,
you got to hit on those coaches.
Those guys were affordable.
You've got to hit on them. You've got to hit on them, and they have to produce. That's not always easy in the league.
But those two had to do it too, and they did it. They were on. I don't think Malcolm Brogdon and Derek White and there was somebody else. I know he's not for
Grant Williams.
Green, but even for Miami, like Caleb Martin, you can't afford him now, but you could have afforded him, a year or two ago, whenever you got that deal. And there's players in the league right now that I think you can afford, and they can blow up when they get to Boston, then you maybe have this conversation in 3 or 4 years after you won 1 or 2 rings. I believe I'm saying that, but the Celtics winning 1 or 2 rings with some mid-level guys like Derek White and Brogdon, but some replacements for those guys because you couldn't afford them anymore. Then those guys, whoever it is, the mid-level guys that replace Brogdon and Derek White, you can't hang on to them too much longer. Or maybe by then, Tatum and Brown are not as important, and then they move those guys on. But that's why I think they can win with them both having max deals.
Easy. I agree with you, because why are we acting like we haven't seen this before? They're a top team every year with those guys. So now what's going to change now that they both have max deals? I get the team dynamic is different, but guess what? Yeah. Those are 2 elite players. They will figure it out. They're not going to sign a max deal and all of a sudden they're going to be a 5 seed every year. It's not going to happen. They still going to be up there.
If you're talking win a title, let me ask you this, Coach, and JT, you can chime in too. They haven't yet, but let me ask you this.
Let me ask the question. There's a bunch of teams that have elite players on max deals that they do win. It's hard to win an NBA championship.
If
you're saying that basically we're going to keep the 2 guys together that have been the engine of this team, all of a sudden just because they're making more money, they're not going to win the championship. We're just counting them out. I get it. You think Jaylen Brown sucks. I'm not going to spend an hour for you to say it in 20 different ways.
Let me ask this question, because I think the question.
Ask you all these questions.
The question is, if you believe they can win a title,
yes.
But Coach, they're essentially the same position sort of player. Does that not concern you? Because that seems to concern a lot of analysts that we see on these NBA games saying, well, the problem is they play the same position. They need an offset type of guy. We've never seen 2 guys playing the same position win a title. Does that not concern you? Because when you throw these max deals on, now you really have to hit on these other positions. I told you this all this is that he don't like Jaylen Brown and he want him gone. That's that. He gonna try to find a way to make you say this. That Jaylen Brown should leave. I've never seen you hate somebody this coach, because the coach is the coach.
Don't ask him. I never see you hate somebody this much.
Coach is the coach. He knows X's and O's. He knows positions. Like, I want to hear from him, convince me otherwise, because everything I'm hearing from these NBA analysts, Van Gundy and Mark Jackson, is they can't win because they play the same position.
I think I don't go with that because they're so talented. Like, why are we talking like we can't win with them when they almost did? Like you know what I mean? It's not like if again, like I think I said this earlier about a different question, but like if they are not making the playoffs or if they're underperforming, like they underperformed in this series, to be honest. But like, was it like a gross underperformance against a crappy team? No, it was some factors that were out of their control. But those guys that can handle the ball and score the ball the way that they do, they're both versatile defensively. The game, I'm a fan of this. You know, my problem is I just don't have enough size to be position oriented, but I also hope that I wouldn't be so locked into positions and who's playing the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, even if I did have size on my team or in college, high school, or the pros, because the game, and I love this trend, the game is becoming positionless. So everybody's switching every single ball screen. So the things that may have been a burden or a negative in the old NBA, like you said, like they play the same position. I don't understand that. And I'm not saying that like they're wrong, but like, you know, Van Gundy and anybody else, they know more, they've forgotten more basketball than I know. So I'd love to have that conversation with like other people. But I just don't, like, the game is positionless. Like we spent a half hour working on switching ball screens and handoffs today in our little summer league practice because I'd rather maybe have a bad matchup on one particular possession every once in a while than draw fouls. And so not to get all into the X and O's, but like those guys in today's NBA, I think interchangeable and duplicity at certain positions is good. Not every position on the floor. You know, you don't want to have two prolific point guards. Like, I don't know. It's like there's certain positions like a true big and a true point guard. Maybe you don't want to have multiple guys. But for those 2, 3, 4 positions, they're all 6'8" freak athletes anyways. Like some of them just shoot a little better, some defend a little better. But I don't go with that. I know it's a very popular argument. I've heard the same thing about, you know, they play the same position, but like it's not like it's a failed experiment. They just haven't quite figured it all out yet. These guys are getting older and getting better and getting smarter too. So
see, that's a great answer. I'm starting to come around now. See, JT, that's all I had to hear. Go ahead. Next question, JT. Keep them coming. We're on a roll.
I can't deal with you, man. I literally can't deal with you. Can you just don't say nothing for the rest of the show, man? It's like, damn. Like, when you hate somebody, you hate them. I have a feeling you're gonna hate this person too. I never thought we'd be talking about this, but here we are. So Dwight Howard was recently interviewed by Chandler Parsons, out of all people, for FanDuel. He was asked to pick between himself and in his prime or Nikola Jokic. And Howard, of course, said, prime Dwight Howard all day, every day. So we got to ask this question. Are we taking prime Dwight Howard or Jokic right now? Don, I'm only going to go to you first because I know you're a hater. So this is get you out the way first.
So, Coach, I don't know if you know this. My team's the Orlando Magic, right? So when Dwight Howard left, he hurt me. So I'm not going to lie. Full disclosure here, Dwight Howard ruined the Orlando Magic. He ruined my joy of the playoffs in the NBA. So let me get to that. I disagree with him. I disagree with him. Jokic is a 2-time MVP. Dwight, you are not. And then on top of that, let's go down the list of all the things Jokic does better than Dwight Howard. He shoots better than you. He passes better than you. He's a better teammate than you ever were. Jokic, coaches like him more, as you always got into arguments with Stan Van Gundy, even while he was taking you to the NBA Finals. His free throw percentage is almost double of yours, Dwight Howard. Less injuries by Jokic. Like, Dwight, sit down, relax, enjoy. You had a really good career. Enjoy it.
Coach, you taking Jokic or you taking prime Dwight?
Jokic.
Okay.
I'm doing Missoula. I'm gonna do a Missoula answer here. I'll take Jokic.
Damn, that's cold. Well, first of all, what you're not gonna do is disrespect Dwight, because we can list off all the things that Dwight done that Jokic can't do. 2-time block champ, 3-time defensive player of the year, 5-time all NBA defense, 8-time all NBA. So we're not gonna disrespect Dwight Howard like he was a scrub, like the NBA top 75 did. But when I looked at this question, I looked at it kind of, you already alluded to it. If I'm a team, I'm putting together a team, who do I want to build around more? And it's Jokic. And it's not necessarily for the skill, because they're different types of players. Because I feel like you could put Jokic in one conference and Prime Dwight in another, and I wouldn't be surprised if they met in the NBA Finals. Like, they're both elite, players all the time. But I just think that for a team environment to be more successful, from the coaches to the players, I think Jokic is just easier. And he does a lot of things that I can do where I don't have to go into like this specific type of offense for him. So that's why I would pick Jokic over Dwight. But y'all, come on, we got to give Dwight his flowers.
No, I think
75 all time. I know he broke your heart. It's like the kid that asked, Slim Shady for an autograph and he didn't get it. I get it. You're having your moment. But you got to give Dwight his flowers. I
agree with Germ here. Germ, thank you. Dwight Howard overrated. Thank you.
Haters.
Thank you.
I got a question for Germ. Dwight Howard or Josh Allen? Get him out of here.
Wow. All right. So there have been a few coaching changes already, coaching hires since the end of the regular season. So we'll play a game of love it, like it, trash it. We haven't done this in a while. So, Coach, you've got the honors of this. We will name a hire, all right? And you let us know if you love it, like it, or trash it. And there was one that we put at the end. There's rumors that it's just coming down today, so there'll be a fourth one. The first one, Houston Rockets hiring Ime Udoka. Coach, I'll start with Coach on this one because I think we should all agree on this one, but maybe not. So, Coach, love it, like it, or trash it. You can really love it. It can just be like, I like it, not bad, not good. Or you can be like, nah, not the right fit or not the right guy.
I like it.
Okay.
I like it. I don't try to wade into these waters, but like the only reason I don't love it is because I'm just so confused at what the hell happened. And like, I don't know how bad it was. I mean, it's uncomfortable for me to talk about because you're talking about like people's lives and families and like, but at the same time, we just got inundated with all these rumors when that came out, and like, who knows how. I don't know. Like, I think he's a phenomenal coach. I think they don't, I think they don't care. Like, I think in the NBA, I don't know. This is a tough one for me, but I'll stop here. Like, I don't love it just because the way things ended in Boston was so confusing. And I don't know if there's any lingering impact from that. Maybe not so much from Udoka, but just how well is he received? Like, does he have different parameters at work that impact his performance? I don't know. It's just a confusing. It's a sad one. I didn't like hearing that at all on it for anybody, and that's why I can't love it. But I think he'll do well there.
All right, JT.
No, I disagree with him. I love it, and simply because his absence cost Boston the championship. So I got to feel good about him going to Houston. He's got a young, talented core down there, and he's already poaching the staff from Boston. I think he brought something like 3 of his top assistants from his staff. So I think he's set up for success. I love it, and I think he's a good coach.
I think Coach brings up a really good point. So I'm gonna kind of have that caveat that I'm gonna say that whatever happened in Boston was, does not have a lingering effect here. He didn't. I'm gonna guess that he didn't do anything criminally wrong. All right, as Germ's got to chime in. Let's just call it what it is. I'm not even reading that. You can read it if you want. I'm not reading that. He messed with the
wrong person's woman, and it cost him. Like, let's be real.
If he didn't do anything criminally wrong, then what I would say is that I do love it then. right? If he did nothing criminally wrong, I do love it. He's a great coach. I think he's in a no-pressure situation, doesn't need to win. He obviously could handle the pressure in Boston. He has those young guys, and he's a respected coach. And when you've got young guys that respect a coach, he can get a lot out of them and really teach them. So I love it. Next one, Milwaukee Bucks hire Raptors assistant coach Adrian Griffin. JT, let me start with you. I'm kind of interested to hear your thoughts on this one.
Got nothing to do with him. Trash it. Just because I don't think they should have got rid of Budenholzer. Like, you just won a championship with this guy. How often has Milwaukee been the top seed, not just in the East, but in the whole NBA? Like, they've been up there every year since Budenholzer's been there. You won, and he has one bad year, and you get rid of him for a guy that's never done it before. I can't love it. I can't like it. I gotta hate it. But it has nothing to do with him personally. It's the choice by the Bucks.
All right, Coach.
I would say, hold on. I was pulling something up right before you came to me too quick.
Come on over to the dark side, man. It's okay to say you hate it.
I was going down the same road as you, JT. With like, I didn't think Budenholzer should have been fired, and that's probably why I'm not going to trash it. And the only reason I'm not going to trash it is because I really like Adrian Griffin's journey. I like the respect that he's garnered. Like he's I don't know him at all, but he just seems solid as a rock. I think his daughter plays at UConn, and that obviously that doesn't matter at all. But like, it's just I just like it, and just seeing a guy get that opportunity. I think as a former player, I never played at that level, but I think that sometimes former players get a bad rap, and it delays their imminent hiring, or just they don't get a job because people think that they can't work, and they get labeled if they come to college like guys that they don't work. Like, the NBA is a tough job, and it's the guy's 48 years old. He's been responsible for a lot of success in some other areas, and that's why I can't trash it. But like, if it was like, the question was like, the Milwaukee Bucks were right for getting rid of Budenholzer, I would trash that. But I do like it, but I can't love it for the same reasons that JT wanted to trash it.
Yeah, I'm going just based on this hire. Forget what happened before with the firing, because we can definitely debate that and say maybe Milwaukee was wrong. So just on this hire, I like it. He was a winner with Toronto. He knows the business, as Coach said. He's done it his whole life, has family in it. I guess the reason why I don't love it, and it's just like it, is because Milwaukee's trying to win now. And correct me if I'm wrong, I think Adrian Griffin's a first-time head coach now in the NBA, right, with this move. That's the only reason why I don't love it. Because if you've got Giannis, maybe the best player in the world right now, you've got a team that just won it, 2 years ago. So it's like, you got to win now. Give me that big name, or give me that guy that's like been there, just hasn't been able to win it. Like, so that's the only thing that worries me, is that he's a first-time head coach in a really a big spot. So I like it. So the next one, Philadelphia 76ers hiring Nick Nurse, and I'm going to go to JT because I just feel like he may go on a rant here. So. What? JT, love it, like it, or trash it? I don't know. I just got that feeling. Go ahead.
I feel like you're just coming to me for ratings at this point. Like,
go ahead.
I feel like I'm being picked on. You singling me out?
We got Coach here.
That's a compliment, man. That's a compliment.
Jesus, man.
We got Coach here for the ratings. Relax.
You know why you coming to me first? Because I hate this damn hire. I'm gonna trash it. That's why.
Exactly.
All right. Look, with all due respect to coaches on the panel,
that means you about to disrespect.
With all due respect, I'm about to disrespect Nick Nurse. Let's keep it real. Kawhi made him bigger than he is. Like, where do I start? First of all, in Toronto, I feel like his rotations were terrible. Like, I just never understood it. Like, you're playing your veteran starters big unnecessary minutes, and you can't figure out a rotation. And your answer to that is to put a bunch of bigs in there who can't shoot and just mix it up every night where it doesn't make sense. You're DNPing guys. You're not developing players that I thought should have got chances. Guys like Malachi Flynn, like, they see the floor one night that they don't. And then somebody like Chris Boucher, will have a hot stretch for 2 weeks, and then we won't hear from him for the next 2 months. Like, that just tells me that Majuri and Kawhi have basically masked two coaches there, him and Dwayne Casey. So I'm not buying it. And then why would Philly do this? Your whole goal is to build around the strengths of Joel Embiid. You know what's not a strength of Joel Embiid? Playing unnecessary minutes where he got to be out there 50 minutes a game for nothing. So RIP to Embiid's knees. Like, this don't make no sense. They basically hired Tom Thibodeau 2.0. So I trash
JT, this is not a fantasy basketball show.
Trashing it.
I mean, you mentioned everybody on their roster won the 13.
Embiid will be shut down by the All-Star break. I'm calling it right now.
So, Coach, see why I went to him first? I told you he was going to go off on a rant. Look at that. Emotional. He's an emotional guy.
Not emotional.
So, Coach,
tell the truth.
You're not the emotional guy, right? You're the level-headed guy.
Not you talking about Jaylen Brown for forever. We know you don't like him. You're emotional about any guy you don't like.
Can we move on from that? Why you keep bringing it up? Coach, love it, like it, trash it. Nick Nurse to the 76ers.
Love it.
Ooh, okay.
And the reason I love it is because I think Nick Nurse is a good coach. And kind of part of the reason, like, I think I might love it for the same reasons you might have trashed it, JT. Like, what if he's the right guy? Because he's got an all-pro Hall of Famer. He's got two of them right now. I don't know if they're going to stay with James Harden, but like, what if he's a guy like? What if his ego is small enough to get out of the way? And you're right. Maybe they have a great GM in Morey and a great coach who knows. I'm sorry, a great player like Kawhi Leonard. They got their version of Kawhi Leonard in terms of like an MVP level guy. And I know this ain't helping my own career longevity, but I don't coach in the NBA, so I guess it doesn't matter. Like, coaching matters certain amounts at certain levels. And I just think that when you get to the NBA, I'm reluctant to finish my sentence because I don't want to sound like I'm discrediting coaches, but these dudes are so damn good. Like, you know, that debate pops up every once in a while. Like, you know, what if the NBA, like, what if there was a player coach, or what if there was no coach, or the coach had a lesser role? Like, there's obviously, I'm never going to say, even if I wasn't a coach, I'd never say that, you know, we're irrelevant and unnecessary, but I just don't think, like, I know that my impact is going to be bigger. I'm the same person. My impact is going to be minimal on the NBA level, bigger on the college level, and huge on the high school youth level, just because of where these kids and adults are in their own development and their IQ of the game. So that's why I love his hire, because he's done this before with a co-player, with a star player, and he's, you know, for lack of a better word, because I know it's not this simple, but he got out of the way. And maybe that's what Philly needs. And I'm not saying Doc Rivers was in the way, but maybe they need a new voice, a fresh voice who doesn't have an ego. Again, not talking about Doc Rivers, but maybe his ego is strong enough or just, you know, small enough to do his job without trying to soak up headlines or flex on people. Just get it done. He seems like he has no life either. He just does all basketball. So
I guess so that's the opposite of what I said. So you the tiebreaker. What it is?
I'm gonna go right in the middle. I like it. I can't say I love it. There's something that holds me back. I can't explain it, but you know, he's a former champ. No matter how he got it, no matter who was on the team, you know, he's a former champ in terms of being the head coach of a team that won an NBA title. You know how difficult that is? He's got a lot of talent in Philly. So if we want to dog him that, oh, he had all this talent in Toronto, Kawhi saved them. Well, just like Coach said, they've got a lot of talent in Philly, and they got Joel Embiid, who's the reigning MVP going into next year. And guess what? He beat the 76ers, right? Well, he beat them even though Kawhi hit that great shot. So he knows how to beat them. If he knows their weaknesses, maybe he can help them mask some of those and really get to their strengths. So,
when did they win it? When did Toronto win it? 2 years ago?
Like 5 years ago?
Maybe more like 3 years ago. 4 years
so
ago.
Last year,
2019.
I think it was right before the bubble.
It was the year before the bubble, right? So you had 2019 was Toronto. The bubble year was 2020 LA, 21 Milwaukee, 22 Golden State, and we're at 23.
Yep. Looked at me like I was crazy when I said 5. I was close.
Sorry, man. It just doesn't feel that long ago, though. It is crazy.
It is what it is.
I coached a kid that played for Toronto last year when Nick Nurse was there, and he said the dude is a friggin' genius, like just conceptually, like just on the fly.
Okay.
So, elite players usually like that type of stuff.
Yeah.
And you can say what you want about how powerful and impactful Embiid is or Kawhi Leonard is. Not to backtrack on my answer, but like nobody's ever going to say, hey, I want the least talented team as opposed to the most talented team. But like, let's not act like having the most talented team is not without its challenges. You know what I mean? Like being able to put Kawhi Leonard in his right spots and put Embiid in his right spots and move people around those guys and just managing those egos. Like, yeah, maybe like ain't no head coach in the NBA there because of player development. You know what I mean? Like they might have gotten there because of player development and they got relationships, but once they get to that head coaching spot, it's not like they're just, they've hopefully got a staff and a routine and a plan to help guys get better, but they're not rebounding and setting screens and going through actions with those guys. It's just you're more of a manager. Shoot, college is getting like that. They're starting to call college coaches managers like they kind of call NBA coaches because there's just so much movement and the kids are so talented and don't get me off track.
I mean, college coaches are trying to keep guys from hitting the portal and they've got to manage NIL deals and who's making what on the team. I mean, for sure. I mean, the college coaching has definitely become more difficult. The last hire, the word is that Detroit Pistons are putting one big package together to get Monty Williams. So, JT, real quick, love it, like it, or trash it?
I want to love it, but I can only like it because I'm not convinced that Detroit isn't going to try to do some sort of like forever rebuild they've been doing. If they're like, all right, cool, we got our guy, we got our players, are going to try to win now, I love it, but I got to only like it because it's the Pistons. I never know what that front office is doing.
All right, Coach?
That's it's Detroit, man. Like, who cares? Like, no.
Enough said.
You're just hating because the bad boys beat you guys in '89. Relax.
I love Monty Williams. I do love Monty Williams. I remember when he was a player at Notre Dame, just barely, like, and all the way up through his career. I understand why he got let go in Phoenix, even if I don't agree with it. But the only reason I say I like it is because I'm attaching like the name to like the chances of winning a championship. And I don't know if there's a coach. I don't know if I would say love it about anybody because they're going to Detroit.
Yeah, I get that.
Well, that's why I love it, because I'm looking at it from Detroit's, perspective that This is great because you got it right. Like, they always seem to be in a rebuild. They're bringing in younger guys. Then they get rid of that young guy and bring in even a younger guy. I think with bringing in Monty Williams, they're saying we're going to try to win now. Or that's what I hope happens. Yeah, me too. Especially for Monty's sake, because I think he's a great coach. I like him a lot. Or at the very least, they're saying we're going to give Monty time to build this thing up and to develop the guys, as Coach says. So it's either they're going all in and they want to start winning, or they're at least going to give him time, to get through some of the lumps, to get the young guys to where they can be successful in the playoffs. So, we'll see. So, Coach, you played this last week. Forget about it or Fugazi. Are you game to do it again? I thought you did a great job last time. You agreed with most of my stuff, so I thought you did a great job. So the way it works for the fans and listeners, if you're a first-time listener, welcome. hopefully you'll join us again. But the way it works is forget about it, Fugazi. We're going to read a statement. If we agree with it and we think it's a good take, a hot take, we're going to say forget about it. All right. You can go through the forget about it segment from Donnie Brasco. He can explain what all that means. Or if you don't agree with it and you think it's wrong, you're going to say Fugazi. All right. So first one, I'll kick it off to you first, Coach. Caleb Martin should have been the Eastern Conference Finals MVP instead of Jimmy Butler.
All right. JT's going to give this a forget about it.
See, you tried that last time and you didn't get me.
The Don is going to give this forget about it. No, I'm going Fugazi.
Ooh.
And I'm gonna tell you, I think if we just kept the numbers, as impressive as Caleb Martin's numbers, I think that Jimmy's numbers were better overall. I know his percentages were higher, but like Jimmy's shooting the ball a lot, and he has to. I think so that, and I think, quite frankly, I don't want to take anything away from Caleb Martin, but like, it's which of those two is going to sneak up on anybody? You know what I mean? Like, so for Jimmy Butler to play at that level when everybody knows he's coming, they know how important he is to the team in general, but also how well playoff himmy. Like, I think it's close, and I totally agree with the 5-4 vote, and I wouldn't have been like saying he got screwed if Caleb Martin won it, but I just think that like his numbers were ridiculous. I know it came in a loss because of that last second tip in, but it wasn't sexy. But the output, I think it was mostly free throws and just willing the team to victory almost. Like what he did in Game 6, I don't think he got enough credit just because of the tip in. He was playing horrible. Well, his numbers were horrible, and then I think
you said it right. He was playing horrible.
What was his run like? What? Do y'all remember?
Yeah, I think the last 5
shots, but like he just kept getting it done after a really crappy game.
Yeah, I think the last 5 minutes of that game or something of Game 6, Butler had like their 11 points or something like that.
Yeah, and it may have been 8 from the foul line, but who cares?
Right.
So that's like it's close, but I got to go Fugazi, even though it's a worthy argument, and I want to see if I'm right about my predictions about y'all.
JT.
Oh, you're right about the predictions, but you're wrong about the answer. It's forget about it. And the reason is because let's keep it real. Jimmy Butler, once they adjusted to him and not stop biting on those pump fakes, he was playing horribly. And Caleb Martin carried us in this series. Like, if it wasn't for him, we don't win, especially the last 4 games he carried us. And let's not overlook what he did. 135 points on 60% shooting. Most in the Eastern Conference Finals by undrafted player. And only 6 players in the history of the NBA have done at least what he did or more in the conference finals. That list is Shaq, Wade, LeBron, Dwight, Kareem, and Kim. Like, just think about that. Like, that's elite company. And if you notice anything special about that list, like, those are all greats. And some of them are mostly bigs, but let's just keep it real. Caleb was all-time special in this round. And Jimmy Butler need to be sending him a check or something because he is the reason we are in the NBA Finals. So, yes, forget about it.
JT said it best. Coach, you're right with the predictions. You're wrong with the answer. It is forget about it. And I think this is the difference in it. Game 6, because Butler has that great finish, it's because Caleb Martin kind of kept him in it. And then Game 7, when you really needed to amp it up, I'll tell you what. Yeah, Butler played good. The stats are there, but I'm telling you, it was like every time there was an open shot or every time Boston you thought was making it close, all of a sudden Martin hits a 3. Like it's not even hitting the rim. And so I think Game 6 and 7 is where Caleb separated himself when we're talking about the MVP race, right? So that's why I think it's forget about it.
Okay, those are good points. The only thing I disagree with, it's not because it's wrong, but it's just in terms of like it's. I think it was 9 people voting. Was it like nine?
It was close. I think it was like it was 10. I think it was No, I think it was 5-4 or something like that.
Yeah. So, and those are probably, guys with a strong background and know the league. But like at that moment, the only part of I forget which one of y'all said it, but the only part of the argument I question is when you pull up the historical stats. So they're not wrong. Obviously, you're giving off factual historical stats, but like if I'm a voter, that can't be in my mind at the moment that I'm voting. You know what I mean? Like I at least I ain't smart enough for that. You know what I mean? Like
I don't know.
This is going to be
if someone gave those guys that list and Caleb Martin's on it, it's kind of hard not to use it.
No, what I'm saying is like they make that vote a game. Sure, they're probably kind of thinking about it and crunching some numbers before Game 7, but like,
right.
Do we like? I think we do that a lot as a sports culture. We come up with all these reasons that we have time to think about, as opposed to like the person who made the mistake or maybe voted the wrong way or some way you disagree with, when they didn't have the luxury of being, the Monday morning quarterback and like looking up stuff. So that's fair. You guys made me almost waver, but I stick with my point. But I agree with y'all's points.
All right, we're going to see if he's going to get this one right. Bam Adebayo will be cooked alive by Nikola Jokic in the NBA Finals. Forget about it or Fugazi. Don, I'm going to go to you because I know this your guy.
All right. I want to hear Coach's answer, so I'm going to be real quick. I'm going to say I am a Bam fan. I named my fantasy basketball team after him. I'm going to say forget about it. I mean, Bam is not playing confident right now, and I know Bam's a little bit undersized, 4'5", whatever you want to say. But, I mean, Jokic right now can't be stopped if Bam's not playing with confidence, because I think what hurts Bam is his offense isn't clicking. I think that may affect his defense. So I'm concerned. Forget about it.
I'll go before you. I'll get this out of the way, too. It's forget about it. He about to be burnt beyond recognition. Jokic might give this dude 40, 20, and 15 in 3 quarters. It's a wrap for my guy.
Oh, man. Come on. Not that bad. Dang.
Fugazi.
I'll say with confidence, Coach. You're playing like Bam right now.
I'll tell you why. Like Bam Adebayo, I don't expect him to keep playing this way. I think he's extremely talented. He's got a lot of pride. I think Jokic will get the better of him, but I know we all know that that's different than getting cooked alive. Will he win the matchup? I think he'll win the matchup, but I think like Bam Adebayo, like he's got the best first name to describe anybody's game is anybody I've ever heard of. Like I get sore I feel like I'm just watching him play. I get sore. Like he's so physical and he's so attacking. Like he's going to be a different challenge than Anthony Davis. Right. Anthony Davis is not like Anthony Davis is not like the point center. They're not running like they kind of have. I haven't watched enough to say this.
Williams and Al Horford made him look like a G League player in this series, and I can only imagine what Jokic's going to do.
I don't know. Like, here's my thing is he's going to have the ball in his hands a lot when he's playing well. He's not like the same point center that Jokic is. Obviously, I've never seen anybody like him. He's ridiculous. But like when Bam is like posting up and banging, and he's playing at the elbow and dropping off backdoor passes or hammer passes or flares and stuff like that. And then if he gets in space and whipping around and we know he's going to win a foot race if he gets a step on Jokic. Like, so I just think that like offensively, Jokic is going to do what he does, but I think Jokic is going to have to work extremely hard to because Bam Adebayo is a totally different player, but really, really tough to guard. He's going to put it on the floor more and pass more. So you have to factor in just both of their fatigue levels by what they have to do to guard the other guy or score on the other guy. So it's if there was like a middle choice like there is with like it, love it or hate it, I'd probably go in the middle, but I can't say forget about it because I just think Bam Adebayo's too good, and I think everybody on the Heat's going to step their game up, and nobody's going to buy into this.
So you still sticking with Fugazi, right? I don't know, man. You sound like you agree.
No. I'm Fugazi because I don't think we're talking about how hard Jokic's going to have to work. Jokic's going to ice baths after the game.
Jokic's going to give him a combo, a family pack. It's going to be a whole lot of stuff going on.
I wanna one of y'all come up with some numbers that you think each, like, I bet you that Bam Adebayo will give you 18. No, I think he'll get you 18 and 12. So
series.
In the series, something like that.
Oh, we're gonna talk about that. We're gonna talk about that.
So, like what I'm saying, if he does that, if he give you 18 and 12 and like 3 or 4 assists, let's just say that's what he does, because that wouldn't be like outlandish for Bam, right? Like 18, 12 and 4, maybe 2 blocks. That's
pretty good if they can get that out of him, though.
So if they get something like that out of him, what type of numbers would y'all think that Jokic would have to consider himself cooking Bam Adebayo? Does he have to have 30 and 19, 35? You know,
I was thinking more on the offensive side. That's the way I took this question, right? Like, because I don't think Jokic is going to completely shut down Bam. I think the problem with Bam's offense is going to be inconsistent. He could have that one good game where he goes 25 and 15, but then he might end up with an 11 and 8 game. I think offensively for Jokic, for him to, I mean, you could maybe see him averaging anywhere between 30 to 35 a game point-wise. You know, he's going to get his 12 to 14 rebounds and 10 assists. I mean, that's the range I think that what he's going to do. And I think it's going to be so effective that it's going to make Bam look worse than what it, really is. Because, I mean, Jokic's averages are what? 27 points a game, 12 and a half boards, 10 assists or something. So I just think that Jokic is going to be so effective scoring over 30 that it's going to look like Bam is playing worse than what he actually is. So next one, I'm going to go to JT first because I don't know how he's going to react.
Oh, boy.
A LeBron trade to the Warriors ruins his legacy. JT?
Oh, forget about it. Because the Jordan fans will never let this die. We'll never hear the end of this shit. And it's because LeBron is going to team up with the one team that has been his kryptonite in the prime of his era.
I beat them. They're not his kryptonite.
It is.
They had to go get KD.
No. If the Warriors didn't exist, how many titles would LeBron have? This is the dynasty you said is the best dynasty of all time. And now LeBron is going to go team up with them. I can't think it would kill his legacy. He would never be number one.
Coach, you agree with JT?
First of all, I have to ask a question. Is this something that actually picking up steam?
Yeah, it's out there.
For those watching and listening, Coach is a big Lakers fan, so that is why he does not want to see this. Coach, I think you may have swore under your breath. You can add to the potty mouth.
No, I didn't swear under my breath, but I dropped a whole lot of stuff up in my head.
So if your boy leaves, is his legacy over? They damage it.
I might be a LeBron stan. I'm just gonna go ahead and admit it, and it has nothing to do with him playing on the Lakers. Just his consistency. So I think it would ruin his legacy to. I say forget about it. In the bigger scheme of things.
Basically, him versus Jordan.
Me personally, no. I love the player empowerment. I love the control he's taken over his career, and I love the fact that he doesn't care as much about what we think about whether he leaves or goes or leaves or stays. But I think in terms of the pundits and just the general public, I think forget about it. It would ruin his legacy, even if it wouldn't be ruined for me.
So I'm gonna say Fugazi, and this is why. At this point, if you're like Coach or like me, and I think JT's in the same line here, that it can't ruin his legacy to us, right? Can't ruin it because he's done so great for 20 years. Like what does this 1 or 2 years mean? It means nothing. If you're against him already, you're going to stay against him because what he did to Cleveland to go to Miami, they will always hold that against him. So it doesn't matter what he does from here on out. He can never make up for what he did by leaving Cleveland to go to Miami if you're an MJ fan. So this is just adding more fuel to the fire, but that fire's already going because of what he did Cleveland to Miami. So that's why I say Fugazi.
Oh my gosh. You'll do anything to go against the grain.
That's not going against the grain. I'm being truthful. And Coach, he segued into my answer, saying for him it won't change it, but for the grand scheme of things, it does. And all I'm saying is it's already been ruined. That night he made the decision in the summer of 2010, his legacy was over in terms of the perfection compared to MJ. It really was.
I got you.
It really was.
Now this next one, Coach, I'm gonna skip you because you already ruined it. You blew it up in the first topic. so I'm gonna exclude you from this one because you really can't answer this question. But
I got a quick question though. Sorry.
Go ahead.
I got a quick question. This ruining the legacy. It's uncharted territory. Every other 38-year-old that done something like this or tail end of their career guy, nobody gave two craps about them because they were bouncing around. Hakeem Olajuwon, Patrick Ewing, Michael Jordan,
Karl Malone,
Shaq. Shaq played for 15 teams in his last 3 years or something. Like it was like I'm
chasing rings.
Yeah, so like the only reason this is even a discussion is because he's playing at such a high level, and winning and impacting the league and the game at such a high level. That's like, but every like a lot of stars do this. Like Jordan's the last person I thought would play for other teams. Patrick Ewing didn't Ewing?
He did. He went to Seattle. Yep.
Yeah, like Seattle. So a lot of people do it. They're not playing at a high level in 2 or 3 years from just having won a championship.
Right. And listen, Scottie Pippen did it right. Went to Portland, ended up in Houston. That was a disaster. Barkley's chasing rings. Karl Malone, Gary Payton's chasing rings. Like, it's because he's so well established that it's amazing at 38 going on 39. We're still talking about him as being like top 3 player in the world, top 5 player in the world, where it's like, it's just ridiculous. It's just crazy. So I think people are still holding him to such a high standard. So.
All right. Well, look, y'all ruined number 4, so we gotta throw it out the window because
we did not. How did we ruin it?
Neither y'all picked the Heat, so it doesn't matter. So hold on. Neither of y'all picked the Heat, so we're gonna skip that. I'm gonna answer it and say obviously the Panther and the Heat gonna be the first teams to win an NHL and NBA title in the same year from the same city. Y'all said Denver gonna win, so that can't happen. So we're gonna bypass that. So we're gonna roll through these last NFL topics really quick. Raiders.
Coach, are you good to stay on? We'd love to have you on here for this.
I'm good. I'm good to stay. Just don't expect much. That's all.
All right. No worries. No pressure. We just gonna go through these real quick. So the Raiders and Jimmy G agreed to terms on a contract back in March, but now it's making headlines that Jimmy G had foot surgery back in March. His foot injury would have led him to fail his physical. So instead, he signed a waiver acknowledging that he's waiving any claims against the Raiders, and he may have pertaining to that foot injury. Now, Don, I'm gonna go to you. Did the Raiders completely butcher the Jimmy G situation?
No, it's the exact opposite, JT. They covered themselves pretty nice here. He can't sue them for the injury. So anything basically pertaining to that foot injury, he can't sue them. All right. He waives the risks, such as what they said in the addendum G to the contract is what it was called. It's an addendum. It was section G, but such as permanent disability. So he waived the risk of that. All right. And any disputes shall be resolved at the discretion of the club's physician. So
Not even his independent doctor to get him off the hook.
And on top of that, the Raiders have the ability to terminate the contract with no further obligation. The signing bonus has been removed, so basically no guaranteed money. There's no risk for the Raiders. They can cut him here and not owe him anything. Jimmy G is taking all the risks. So he went from having guaranteed like $11.5 million or $20-some million signing bonus or 11.5 to nothing if they cut him due to the injury. They made out like bandits here.
Coach, you agreeing with him?
Yeah, because I think there's no other. I don't know another way that I don't know how much better the Raiders could have handled it given the situation. I think they have. I think they give themselves some protection at the end of the day, and like if there's a league where you need to protect yourself as an owner against injuries and other stuff, it's the NFL, man. It's just like so no, I do agree, and I think I think that would have happened anywhere he went. I think any team would have done that. I think they're smart for doing it now. And that's why, and I also think that Jimmy G's smart for doing it, for agreeing to it, because I think everybody would have had that same stance. Like, we're not going to throw all this money at you and give you all these guarantees with this hanging around. So either kick rocks or sign this that kind of protects us, and then bet on yourself and stay healthy.
Yeah, it's either be a starting quarterback here or good luck trying to find a backup job at this point somewhere.
Right. Y'all just brushing over the elephant in the room. It's easy. No, they didn't butcher it, because the moment they got rid of Derek Carr and replaced it with Jimmy G, that told me the fix was in. They're going to tank. So this just furthers that. It helps them out. Now, the real question in this whole situation is Tom Brady, who is now, I think he's officially part of the ownership group. Will he be the first player/owner in NFL history, or will they continue to tank for Caleb Williams?
He's going to be Jimmy G's backup.
So the answer to the question is yes. Tom Brady will play for the Raiders this year as a backup, making him the first owner player ever.
And they're still tanking because of the Jimmy G starting and not Tom Brady, who will actually win games. Now, listen. He's not going to be. And I'll tell you why, JT. It comes down to a matter of fact, is that the Raiders, well, the Raiders will always mess things up. But if you did your homework, JT, all right, the vote for Brady's ownership bid won't take place until the next owners meeting, which is held in October. And so there's a source out there. They don't know who the source is, but the source is saying that
Tom Brady's burner account.
One condition, or KD's burner account, one condition for Brady to be a minority owner is that he must be completely retired with no intention of returning. Ooh. So it seems like people were thinking like you, JT, in that he's going to try to play, and we don't want him to be an owner and a player. So we got to put the kibosh on it right now by putting in the terms that you can't be playing if you want to have an ownership stake.
That's a fancy way of saying that no, it's not going to happen. And the reason for what you just said, obviously, but I think the owners are too petty to let that happen, which you just described. But let's be real. He didn't quit his job at Fox and turn down, I think, like almost $400 million to come be the starting quarterback for the Raiders. He want to be an owner. He want to be in the box. He want to be at the games. Tom Brady ain't coming back. Let's cut this out.
Then why'd you pick him up in Dynasty Fantasy Football, bro?
Because you never know what he's going to do. There's that 1% chance. Don't act like you wouldn't have picked him up. Don't be bad. I beat you to it. I'm smarter. I'm better.
I already got better quarterbacks than you. I don't have room for Tom Brady on my roster.
Let's go to the next one. Hurry up.
All right. The Arizona Cardinals officially cut DeAndre Hopkins on Tuesday. While they saved around $8 million in cap space, he's actually still going to account for $22.6 million of dead cap money for the Cardinals this upcoming season. Tell you how much
numbers, y'all. By the way, this man will get all the numbers in there.
You've got to give the background because that goes to show you how much they just wanted to get rid of him.
His cap space has had nothing to do with the actual question.
Absolutely does.
Ask the damn question. Ask the damn question.
So I'll go to JT. I'll go to JT first, Coach. That way you have a second to think here because. For people listening, these are all impromptu questions to Coach, all right? He's nice enough to stick around for us. So, JT, where will DHOP land? What team?
Hey, look, man, shout out to Germ. Stuff About Sports, go check them out. He already leaked the script. He's going to Buffalo. He's going to Buffalo. Stephon Diggs already tweeted. DHOP tweeted back. They're doing that OBJ shit. He's going to Buffalo. Signed, sealed, delivered. It's a mistake. He should go to the Chiefs. Because if I'm on my last legs, I'm going to play with the GOAT. But everybody loves Josh Allen for some reason. You want to go play with him, so he's going to Buffalo.
Coach, you agree with the Bills?
No. Well, I have a question. What was D-Hop's production last year?
Well, it wasn't up to his normal standards.
Well, I think he was suspended the first 6 games, right?
6 games,
yeah, for PEDs.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, the production definitely wasn't going to be there. Then Kyler Murray, was injured, and they didn't have as good of a year. So I believe he's turning 31 to give you, a reference in terms of age as well.
Baltimore.
Where you got him going?
Oh, Baltimore. Okay. Hey, they have the 3rd best odds behind.
God.
Lamar,
LJ. My team is the Ravens because of Lamar Jackson and the University of Louisville.
Oh, don't say that. So you starting a whole different conversation on this show. Don't say nothing about Lamar.
We can't have you on for NFL anymore. I was Steelers fan.
So Don, where is he going? Because I know you're not picking the Ravens because you would absolutely hate that. So
I would not want to see that.
So where is he going?
So JT, Vegas has the best odds going to the Bills, plus 300. But my gut feeling, if I just got to go on my gut, I think it's the Chargers. Warm weather, stays on the West Coast. It's a dome. He's got a young, really good QB that's going to sling it around. He could, in the difference between him going to Kansas City, Buffalo, even Baltimore now, as they've added like guys like OBJ, he can actually make a significant impact with the Chargers.
Keenan Allen and Mike Williams and Quentin Johnston all there? Like, where's he going to get the ball?
Absolutely. And Austin Eckler? You know why? Because Mike Williams is always hurt. Keenan Allen's getting older and is always, injured or pulling a hamstring. He can make a significant impact, in my opinion, there.
I'm going to tell you something you once told me. This ain't fantasy football. All right. So moving on from that ridiculous answer. Last one. I know Don don't want to talk about this, but
Panthers,
Stanley Cup final against the Vegas Golden Knights. Woo! Starts this Saturday. Who wins?
5-time champs right here. 5-time champs.
Y'all been around since the Revolutionary War.
In the last 30 years. 30 years, 5 cups in the last 30 years.
Nobody's asking you about that. Damn.
Where's your gear? You got all this Heat gear. You can't wear both on the show. You can't have something hanging up in the back.
I can't win.
They go into the Cup Finals. Second time ever.
Who wins the Stanley Cup and why? Can you answer that?
Coach, I'm going to go first, Coach. It's Vegas in 5. It's Vegas in 5. JT is not a true fan. And we are only doing this segment because the Florida Panthers are in it. If it was the Penguins, he would not have put this on the list. So that's my answer. Vegas. I
wouldn't have had to because
I hope they sweep them.
If the Penguins were worth shit, they would be on the show every week.
You would have asked this segment if I tried to put it in there. That's why your name's on the show first. Go ahead, Coach.
Florida Panthers, man.
No, Coach. I might not have to invite you back
Panthers.
on, man. You're going Baltimore Ravens fan. You agreed with him on the opening topic, and now you're going Florida Panthers.
The man's a super intelligent person.
Come on,
man.
Coach.
You know what he's talking about.
I expect better than this.
Yeah, it's going to be the Panthers.
Look, I get it. The Penguins had a rough playoff, right? Like was it them or Boston that had an amazing year and got knocked out?
That was Boston.
Okay,
that was Boston.
So I know a tiny bit. But like, what was Pittsburgh's record this year? Were they in the playoffs?
Coach, are you rubbing salt in the wound now?
Tell her what happened.
They missed the playoffs by 1 point.
I remember it. Yes, I remember this.
Wow, now you remembered all of this. I remember that, Coach.
What I'm saying is, I feel you like I'm at this place with the Lakers where, and you're probably here with the Penguins. Like people ask you, who do you think is going to win the Stanley Cup this year, Vegas or Florida? I think Pittsburgh's going to win. Like people want to ask. My kids ask me all the time, "Do you think is going to win, Nuggets or Heat?" I said Lakers. I was like, but they're not playing. I don't care. Lakers.
Y'all sound like y'all living in denial.
I get what you're feeling right now, but I strangely enough, one of the few players I like watching and kind of pay attention a little bit to is Kachuk from Florida. And I'm not going to, if I said I had any more analytical reason, I would be lying. But that's why I'm going with the Florida Panthers. And I think you need to give JT a break, man. So that's another reason I'm going.
Yeah, they're acting like we didn't talk about that.
We're going to have a talk at work tomorrow. We're going to have a talk. We're going to have a talk.
Don't bother that, man.
You never take the side of JT. Trust me.
It's obviously going to be the Panthers. I'm picking them in 6. It's weird because these two teams, they're similar in different ways. Like you forget, like Vegas before the All-Star break, they weren't a good team. And then after the All-Star break, I think I was reading something where they hadn't lost 2 games in a row in 4 months. Like they're on this ridiculous roll. Their offense is really good. They attack the goal really well. But I just think the Panthers just feel like one of those teams where they're like the Heat. They're like a team of destiny. Like they've been counted out every round. Like nobody wants them to win any round. So I think if the goalies can withstand the offensive onslaught from Vegas, I think that's what's going to come down to. And so far, we've shown we can do that.
JT and Coach, I think you'll agree with me. What do I always say, JT? The team has to go through lumps, especially in the NBA playoffs. And
they have to keep climbing that next step.
They've got to take it step by step. Florida hasn't been through, except this year, hasn't been through those wars, hasn't been through those battles. Las Vegas had, right? As the inaugural team, I think they got to the finals. They lost to Washington or something. They've battled. They've been through the playoffs. It's their turn. Like it is their turn, and I just think they're going to win. And I think a big part of it's that experience, unfortunately. Hey, JT, can you name 3 players on the Florida Panthers?
Kachuk, Borowski. What do you want? Why do you always do this?
See, you don't know. Coach knows more.
Do this to
All
me.
right, stat of the day. Stat of the day. There's always some sport meaningless stat of the day, but it's always fun. This comes from our guy, Scott Leeser. Big follower today, or big follower of the show, commented earlier about the Miami Heat with the undrafted free agents. Here you go, Coach. I think you'll appreciate this because it involves some Laker history here. With the Heat advancing to the NBA Finals, Pat Riley has now been part of 25% of the NBA Finals in league history. 3 with the Lakers, 3 as a player with the Lakers, 10 as a coach, and now 6 as an executive in the NBA. Pretty impressive. Shout out to Pat Riley, and he still has phenomenal hair. So, Coach, any final thoughts, Coach? I feel like you wanted to say something there, and I don't want to cut you off.
His career is like it's amazing. Like the arc of his career. And the players that he's coached and like going from a well-known player and like a high-level player at Kentucky, and then everything he did in the NBA as a player, then as a coach of one team, like that's Hall of Fame. Like he stops with the Lakers and doesn't go to another arena for the rest of his life. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer. And then he goes and runs the Heat as a coach and an executive for like another 50 years. And like he's just still like the level of consistency and like the winning and like the Heat culture. I mean,
and
it's a study. It's a case study, man.
And don't forget, he took the Knicks to the finals in '94.
Hey, I forgot about that.
And a lot of those players kind of set the mood for '99 when they also got there again, even though he was long gone by then. But yeah, and I don't know if you've seen it yet, Coach. Winning Time. You got to watch it if you haven't yet. Shame on you if you haven't, because I told you about it.
I know you told me.
All right, I don't know if JT watched it, but that's a phenomenal show. I believe on Showtime or HBO Max.
HBO Max, man. Come on. You got to tell them where to watch it.
It doesn't matter. Neither one's a sponsor yet. If they were a sponsor of ours, I'd be knowing exactly what.
Well, calling your hookups, man.
I don't got any. You're supposed to have them.
Down. Connections. Do something about it.
You're supposed to have them. So, Coach, thank you again 2 weeks in a row for taking time. Again, a lot of fun, man. A lot of knowledge you given. No, we thank you a lot. Thank you very much. And again, we hope to have you on in the near future. You never know how soon. We still got basketball to talk about. We're going to have the NBA draft coming up. So just be ready, just in case we call you out of the bullpen. Just be ready.
Thank you, man. No, I enjoy it, man. This is you guys got me thinking about stuff I usually don't think about, and watching you two do your thing is always fun. So it's fun to be a part of it, man. I just hope we get at least 6 games in the finals for the NBA.
Sorry,
it'll be 5.
It's gonna be 5.
Eat him 4.
It's gonna be 5.
Eat him 4.
Eat him 4.
I'm taking you out. I'm taking you out to a really, really nice Starbucks, JT.
Oh no!
No.
You don't get up there with me. We will be going to real quick.
Hey, I'm gonna say it on air. Fancy lunch if the Heat win, and a fancy dinner, like a whole hell, 2 dinners if they sweep.
Ooh, boom.
Next time JT comes up with hey, Coach, that lunch can't be at the dining hall. We know what you know what I'm talking about.
Only because it's closed in the summer. That's all.
He gonna learn this lesson the hard way. All right.
I'm ready.
So, Coach, for real though, thank you so much. Great time. We'll definitely have you back on if you're willing to spend time with us. So
absolutely. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. And to all the fans and listeners out there, thank you very much, as always, for listening and supporting us. Couldn't do it without you. Remember to please subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and wherever you find all of your other favorite podcasts. And remember, if you like what we do, leave us a 5-star review. And JT,
if you don't like what we do,
leave us a 5-star review. And remember to follow us on social media. Our handle at JT and the Don. We can be found on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Facebook. So once again, JT and the Don All Sports Podcast presented by Give Us a Shot Network. And JT, until the next episode, see you.
Peace.